Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to a circuit that demands absolute precision, bravery, and just a little bit of luck. Tonight I'm your host, Sagar Bakshi, and it's green here at the Miami Autodromo Internazionale. Side by side, there goes Sean Stam, the Stamman, and the 000 as well. Papa Green made up 3 positions in 2 laps. With Leslie Simpkins now throws his elbows out at Drew. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to Virginia International Raceway, where speed, precision, and endurance will be pushed to the absolute limit. In round 5 of the Sausage Dodgers GT3 Endurance Championship, proudly sponsored by SentriCore, MIP. VIR is one of the most demanding road courses on this calendar. A fast, flowing circuit with blind crests, technical corners, and no room for error. From the high-speed S's to the tight oak tree section, every lap will test driver confidence, tire management, and concentration. In GT3 endurance racing, raw pace is only part of the equation. These drivers must manage traffic, execute clean pit stops, protect their equipment, remain mistake-free as the pressure mounts. One small error can erase an entire race worth of work, while patience and consistency can turn an underdog into a podium contender. The cars are prepared, the strategies are set. The championship battle continues at one of America's most iconic circuits. This is round 5 of the Sausage Dodgers GT3 Endurance Championship, sponsored by SentriCore, MIP. Live from Virginia International Raceway. Thank you very much for joining, folks. Thank you very much for staying tuned. It's a pleasure. Thank you from green to checkered flag on behalf of the Sausage Dodgers. I'm Sagar Bakshi, taking you from green to checkered flag, as always. Let's take a look at the track here. 3.27 miles or 5.26 kilometer track that has historic roots in Alton, Virginia. Opened in 1957 with 17 natural terrain corners. It's a clockwise circuit. We have famous corners including the S's, the Oak Tree, the Roller Coaster, and Hog Pen. Speaking of the S's, it's going to reward confidence and precision. That's key number 1. Key number 2 is manage traffic patiently. Number 3 is protecting the tires. Number 4, execute the endurance strategy and run the 90-minute race. 100% fuel load for the drivers, so we'll have to take a look at the qualifying run to see what the drivers have been up to. Chris Carr, Thomas Wright, and Vincenzo Stagnito, the 1-2-3 punch combo with Mark Richards, Giovanni Zazzera, Marino Coloric, Gabbiati, Butler, Vincenzo, Butler, Osbald, Elston, Piper, Nicolaitis, and Gorgetto rounding out the drivers. Taking a look at the championship points for this week going into round 5. I want to welcome everybody in the YouTube chat as well. Thank you very much for joining, and thank you very much for being here. Fudge, Paul Cook, and of course, everybody else watching as well. Jack McCarthy cheering on the SDR family. Thomas Wright leads the charge in the points with Mark Richards driving that 420 to victory lane a couple of times and finding those podiums. that he needs in this championship. Oleg Karmanov running in P3, not too far behind. 8 points down from a championship win. Tim Williams running in the top 5. Nikolaitis in 5th. Piper trying to find his top 5 here. Ubertali, Sims, Carr, Gabbiati, Clark, Kenny, Cook, Mofat, Gorgetto, Vinci, Stagnito, and Lewis Butler round out the top 18 drivers. As we do our lap behind the pace car, let's take a look at our grid, shall we, folks? Row number 1 is going to be Chris Carr and Thomas Wright. Following that on row number 2 will be Vincenzo Stagnito and Mark Richards. Further back is going to be Giovanni Zazzera and Marino Clowari. Row number 4 belongs to Mauro Gabbiati and Lloyd Butler. That's Uncle Lloyd to you driving that Lamborghini. Number 10 is going to be for Noah Osbidelson and 9 for Elio Danilo Vincenti. Lewis Butler and James Piper on the 6th row. Row number 7 going to be for Konstantinos Nikolaitis and Lorenzo Gorgetto. It's going to be a long, cold lap for Konstantinos Nikolaitis, starting at the back of the pack. Noah Osbidelson getting a disqualification from this event will not take part in this chart. Get him, Uncle Lloyd, says G. Diddy. Thank you very much for cheering on Uncle Lloyd, my friend. We all love Uncle Lloyd, but there goes Thomas Wright off at the oak tree. Little slip and slide moment there. Update for you guys. Let's take a look at the tire compound that the drivers have selected as well. Like, that's going to be important for the entire field. We have someone going around the pit lane in the Acura. That'll be Lou Butler going the wrong way. And he'll fall back to the back of the pack. Let's go get them, boys and girls, everybody involved. Coming through the roller coaster section now. Out of turn 14, 15. Getting ready to go racing. A few drivers, Piper and Gorgetto, on the dry tires here tonight. Let's see what they can do from further down the order. Drivers revving their engines, rearing and ready to go. Thomas Wright. Green, green, green is in the air, and everybody's dodging for position. There goes the 11 of Uncle Lloyd Butler, trying to charge his way through the field. He's alongside Lewis Butler right now, who's going to be latest on the brakes. The dry tires seem to be working out under brake braking for corner number 1, but not for some. The 2, who's that? That's going to be Marino Kolowarik, who's gone round as well. Elio Danilo Vinci has gone around. Marino Kolowarik involved. Vincenzo Stagnito getting his elbows out with Uncle Louis. No, that's Louis Butler, the young gun. Louis Butler charging through the field right now also. Louis Butler up 7 positions right now behind the championship leaders. Mark Richards gaining a lot of points this evening. With Thomas Wright down the order, who's going to come out on top of the championship stands at the end of it? There goes the 11 of Louis Butler off at the S's, rejoining the racetrack in a safe and tidy fashion. Speaking of Thomas Wright, here he is down the pack right now, down 6 positions from where he started this event after an early slip and slide moment for him. Coming through the first corner, he got taken out by the looks of it. Let's see if we can get a replay of what happened to Thomas Wright at the beginning of the race. It looks like he just went off track. Let's get another replay of that. Under braking, just drifted out wide. And that's going to be it. Chris Carr tumbles down the order with a big mistake at the hairpin at Oak Tree. Carr does it all on his own. The pressure builds. And that'll do it for Chris Carr. He's tumbled down into P8. The wet weather catching out all of the drivers on the early run of things. Mark Richards into the lead. Ciazara tumbling down the order on their own at turn 1, driving that Mustang, doing a little bit of lawn mowing. I didn't know Ford made lawnmowers these days, but apparently that is the case. So Mark Richards provisionally walking away with the championship lead at this point in time if the points were to stand as they do. Louis Butler trying to change things up, though, has Vincenzo Stagnito locked in his crosshairs. Vincenzo Stagnito definitely under threat right now. Louis Butler, the young gun, in 3rd place right now in the number 11. Trying to go to the inside line. This is going to be the attack of a century. No bump and run there. Vincenzo Stagnito saw the writing on the wall and backed out of that one. Coming down into the roller coaster section. Louis Butler sends it down the roller coaster hill and chases down Mark Richards for P1, but tumbles down the order. Now with a big 360, he's able to somehow recover the vehicle, pointing in the right direction at Hogpen, and he's back on the black stuff. Now Zazera has an opportunity to get ahead of Louis Butler. Is making a few mistakes and now has very, very warm tires. You see the wiggle coming out of turn 2. He's going to have to cool those tires down. Drivers on the dries, non-existent anymore. Piper and Gorgetto both decided the wet tires were the way to go and switched over with a quick pit stop of 24.33 seconds, respectively. Hello, Tim. Welcome on in. Thank you very much for joining us, sir. Taking a look back at Chris Carr as he's down 7 positions on his current run. Last lap, best lap for Chris Carr, but Thomas Wright is going to be no easy mountain to get around. Chris Carr in that Ferrari looks forward to the Lamborghini and the rooster tail that's spraying in his face. The wipers are on as they fall in single file into the roller coaster. Turns 13 and 14. There goes the 68 of Thomas Wright down at Hogpen. We've seen drivers hit that puddle a few times now, and that take them out of the race, Louis Butler being one of them. Marino Clark gains a position now as Thomas Wright makes yet another mistake, and yet Marino Clark will find up 8th place. Here's Uncle Lloyd and Zazera. In their wheel-to-wheel combat, Uncle Lloyd is charging through the field right now, but not anymore as he makes a big mistake. And Zazara will walk away with P5 back to where he started the race. And Uncle Lloyd resumes the racetrack up 1 from where he started this event in P8. So Uncle Lloyd, not too shabby, has an opportunity to get a couple more at the end of the day. Konstantinos Nikolaitis, the driver who started in pit lane, had a lot of work to do in this championship, but has Elio Danilo Vinci up the road. What happened to Louis Butler now? That's Lloyd Butler. What happened to Lewis Butler? Looks like Lewis at the top of the key, up the S's. Oh man, and doesn't stop. Thankfully, he doesn't hit any of the tire barriers here, so looking pretty good for that rejoin. Well, Lewis Butler tumbles down behind Marino Kloarek. Now it's Thomas Wright to contend with. Here's the gearbox of Lewis Butler right now. And off into the grass goes Lewis again. Just going in too deep, and he's going to cut the track dramatically on this rejoin, coming back in at Hogpen. Not even able to stay on the racetrack when that rejoin takes place. He's got to get that dirty grass off of his tires first before he can get on the loud pedal. Slips back in behind Thomas Wright, the other mistake maker this evening. And I say that because it's easy to do from dry up here in the broadcast booth. I'm not going to have to deal with these tricky, challenging conditions. No rain coming down at the current moment. But the track surface is lightly wet, and the air temperature 19 degrees, 20 degrees Celsius. And there goes Lewis on Thomas Wright, but in too deep again. He'll go off the track with that overtake and probably have to give that position back at the end of the day. Sliding around through NASCAR Bend, left hook, 5 and 5B. Now up the hill through the snakes, another battle brewing up the road. Also is going to involve Marino Kloarek and Uncle Lloyd. Uncle Lloyd probably getting an earful from Lewis Butler right now. As the Lamborghini is chased down by the Acura. Probably will be an attack going into the roller coaster. I wouldn't see why the Acura would stand down on this charge. Slight kink, Louis defends hard but fair. Uncle Lloyd does a good job of keeping it calm, cool, and collected. 158.342, new fast lap of the race. Couple of tenths, a second and a half faster than Mark Richards on that last lap. So expect that gap to come down. And there goes Lewis Butler. He's off again, this time at the tire barriers. Let's see what happened there. Oh, and there goes the 11. Right round at the hog pen. Seen that happen so many times, and this time it takes the number 11 out of contention of this race. Vincenzo Stagnito all over the rear end of Mark Richards here, coming into the roller coaster. Vincenzo Stagnito has proved himself to be faster on the racetrack lap after lap. Can he go head to head with the championship leader right now? Let's take a look at the cash. It's been good. Mark Richards has been losing around half a second per lap. Thomas Wright running with Constantino Nicolaitis. The driver who started from pit lane up the field 5 positions. I feel like Nicolaitis really is running a quiet but deadly race this evening. He hasn't been up and down the field. He really has been running his own race. He's up 5 positions currently. I mean, what's there bad to say about this driver tonight? Running slow and steady wins the race sometimes, and the number 32 has been plucking away at those laps currently. Taking a look at the Mark Richards Vincenzo Stagnito battle, as I collect the marbles out of my mouth. The gap escapes Vincenzo Stagnito a little bit as he gets a sloppy exit coming out of Oak Tree. Further back, Mauro Gabbiati under attack from the man Chris Carr. The Williams driver looking forward to a podium possibly. Mauro Gabbiati being the gatekeeper of that podium right now. Will he defend hard going into roller coaster? No, he will not, but he will try to roll off the brakes a little bit and get Chris Carr's attention. He definitely caught mine. The 81 pulls a sneaky defense out of nowhere, rolls back onto the brakes, parks it on the apex in front of Chris Carr. Up ahead, the battle for the lead begins to spice up because Vincenzo Stagnito has the inside line no longer as Mark Richards tries to switch back late on the brakes. He gets it planted but stays behind Stagnito, who's now into P1. What about Thomas Wright? Vincenzo Stagnito loses the lead to Mark Richards. Holy Toledo, what a send from Richards. That move was definitely on, but holy smokes, the commitment and bravery there to make it stick coming out of the S's. Holy Toledo. Mark Richards looking for a victory tonight. Does not want to settle for anything less, apparently. No, Richards with a slip. Holy smokes, but what a catch. He was able to recover at Hogpen, but what a code brown moment for Richards. Vincenzo Stagnito closing down behind. On board with Stagnito in second place as we chase down Mark Richards. What's it like on board and how much wheel movement is going on there? Not a whole lot of, whoa, just as I say that, a whole lot of correction going on up the hill coming out of the snake. So much confidence there, carrying that speed up the hill through the S's and then downshifting back to upshifting, trying to keep the traction underneath you, the RPMs modulated as well. Chris Carr and Cabbiati wheel to wheel still. Battle for third and fourth. Chris Carr out of the race. What happened to Carr up the hill through the S's? It all goes wrong at the final turn, and he'll clatter into the tire barrier and take the tow to pit lane. Vincenzo Stagnito's gap begins to dissolve, really, as a 58.4 is no better than Mark Richards' 58.2 last time by. From historic origins, VIR is known for its legacy of sports car racing. It first opened in 1957, and the circuit became one of America's classic early road courses venues. After closing in 1974, VIR was reopened in 2000. And VIR full course remains one of the most recognizable and respected layouts in North America motorsports. Because VIR is one of the courses that just keeps asking more and more of the driver. The climbing S's are a signature section of American road racing. The Oak Tree is one of the most important corners on the lap because it launches the car onto the back straight. Roller coaster and Hogpen are where VIR shows its character late in the lap. What is there not to talk about of a course with this much technicality to it, where it requires a lot of discipline and, just as I said earlier, confidence of the driver? Konstantinos Nikolaitis coming down the back stretch, trying to catch up to Uncle Lloyd Butler, the number 35. As the leaders cross the line, they're separated by just about nil as far as lap times are concerned, still separated by around 7/10 on the racetrack. Here is Konstantinos Nikolaitis, The number 32 Ferrari driver, Ryan Cavaliere Rampanti. 296. Oh no, Uncle Lloyd having a big moment there at Hogpen. We've seen that time and time again. Uncle Lloyd now succumbing to the mistake. This time by Thomas Wright, 2 seconds faster than Zazara up ahead, the Italian driver in the 108. Three drivers out of this one, unfortunately, so far. We're only 20 minutes in to the 1 hour, 30-minute event that we have scheduled for us. Folks, if you like what you see, if you want to get involved, make sure you check out more Sausage Dodgers action. Coming up next, we have our Endurance Tour Season 6 for Big Power Hunter sponsoring the broadcast. Join us for the Endurance Tour Season 6 coming up very, very soon. We also want to shout out and thank all of our Patreon subscribers in the Tier 1 and in the Tier 2. We have Mickey Phipps, Andrew Kesterton, Sam Marshall, Uncle Lloyd Butler, Benedetto DeVizzo. In the Tier 3, we have Jack Jacketson, Craig Starkey, and none other than Chris Carr running in third for the Tier 3 category. Everybody on our meet wall gets a whole bunch of love and support too. We have Andrew Kesterton, a loyal and always loyal friend of the stream. Simon Hutchings, or Simone as we know and love him. Paul Rocky Cook on the meet wall also. It would be remiss without mentioning our title sponsor tonight, SentriCore MIP. For your intel needs, reach out to SentriCore MIP for cybersecurity, health, and intel needs. Go to SentriCore. In the Tier 1 category, of course, we have none other than Leslie Simpkins, Andrew Kenny, Mark Richards, and Jack McCarthy. Simon Darch being a Tier 1 subscriber, and none other than Mr. Richard Beaton. If you want to support the stream, if you want to get involved in the Sausage Dodgers community, scan those QR codes on your screen. Support the stream. That QR code is directly to the PayPal, and the QR code on the bottom right will take you directly to our SimGrid, where you can sign up for more racing action. So the race goes on here at the 24.5-minute mark. Mark Richards has picked up the pace on Vincenzo Stagnito, who's up one position from where he started. Yes, Mr. Kesterton, welcome into the YouTube chat, my friend. Thank you very much for your patronism, always being here, Mr. Kesterton. Well, glad you're able to get some practice again for Interlagos and your 6-hour event, my friend. Hopefully the practice is going well. As you can see, you haven't missed a lot. Well, you've missed a lot, I should say. Let's take a look at the gains so far. The net gains and losses will tell a pretty good story of the driver's story and what has transposed in this event. It's been a wet start for the drivers. We had a few James Piper and Lorenzo Gorgetto start on the dry tires from the back of the pack. It didn't work out well for them. The track was a little too moist. Maybe the crossover period is beginning just about now, as you can see a dry line forming, but the Rooster Tails will still out there. Mark Richards has been able to climb through the order, up 3 positions on his run, keeping it mostly clean, I should say. A couple of mistakes here or there has led to some undulations of positions. Vincenzo Stagnito, however, has tried to challenge Mark Richards on his charge up and down the order. Take a look at the timeline from Stagnito. Worst position so far being P3, where he started this event and has climbed up the order to P1 there on lap 7. Unable to hold on, Richards snapped back and closed down the gap. Punching a hole in the air and now escaping up the road. Last lap around, though, about a second slower for Richards than Stagnito, so that might change here shortly. Taking a look at the time delta as well, the gap has, well, slinkied back and forth a few times. So as the conditions evolve, I would expect the drivers to continue to have their pace and their gaps, well, slinky back and forth. What a perfect sounding BMW. Now it's Stagnito that gives the time back, that time by. Coming around NASCAR and left hook. Gotta get yourself squared up squarely for the snake section. There you go, Stagnito just driving in a straight line up the hill through the snake. Konstantinos Nikolaitis not catching Thomas Wright, those 58 O's, proving to be faster and faster than the drivers around him. 58.05, new fast lap of the race, actually. And Mark Richards takes off like a rocket out of Oak Tree. And it really puts in the hard work to gap Vincenzo Stagnito into roller coaster. Now it seems to be a case of when is traffic going to become an issue for the field? Looks like Marino Kolaric, the next car up the road, around 10 seconds up from Mark Richards. To expect them to run into traffic in around 5 laps or so. That'll be about 10 minutes of running, so about the 40-minute mark. Oh, left hook proving to be an issue there for Mark Richards. A little bit of a Code Brown slide moment. Just look at how planted the sausage is. Coming through the S's and up the hill. And I wonder if that is the preferred line coming through, what is that? South Bend, I think. Just being a little off the apex there to avoid any puddles. Andrew asks, where did the oak tree go? Did they cut it down? Actually, yes, they did. It's back in 2018, I want to say. It got struck by lightning, and they had to chop it down, Andrew. I think the oak tree only still exists in simulators that haven't updated the track, like Assetto Corsa. And I remember that being a big thing too, because I was just getting into motorsports when they cut it down. And a lot of friends of mine were very, very, very... oh no, Stagnito! Stagnito up the hill. Loses ground. But not too badly. Mauro Gabbiati still back around 31 seconds. But that definitely hurts his charge on Mark Richards. Let's get a replay here. What happened to Stagnito? Well, he was already sideways coming through the S. And then at South Bend is when he's rejoining. So what an incident for Stagnito. He's lucky he didn't have any damage. Chris Carr as well, back out on the racetrack. Unfortunately, down 9 positions on his charge right now. Has a lot of ground to make up currently. Thomas Wright, repeat of what we saw earlier, all of the rear end of Mauro Gabbiati this time. Thomas Wright has been up and down the order. Let's take a look at his timeline and see what that one looks like. There it is, high P2 from the start of the race, drops down to P9. And the recovery drive basically has been on since lap 4. Up the hill is not the place to make a move, but you can always set one up. always set one up, though. I think that's going to be the preferred option here at the Oak Tree. Stays closer to the apex, gets a good drive on exit behind the Mustang, who on throttle gets a little sideways. Right, able to get around Gabbiati. Is he able to clear him down the straight? He is. And the move is done and dusted. Look, track obviously drying up as Richards pulls in a new fast lap, new personal lap, 57.92. 57.91 compared to Thomas Wright, though. Gabbiati chases down Thomas Wright in the pursuit for his podium. Mauro Gabbiati could do very well with a podium tonight. We've obviously seen that Thomas Wright and Stagnito are a human and can make mistakes when pressure is mounted. Can Gabbiati keep the pressure mounted on the field? Doesn't seem to be the case. Thomas Wright, faster in every sense of the word, pulls out at the S's with just a sheer amount of confidence. Oh no, speaking of mistakes, there was a big one from Thomas Wright, but Mauro Gabbiati also makes a mistake at South Bend. So two mistake makers here. And here comes the driver named Chris Carr. So Thomas Wright still in third, but now Giovanni Zazzera, the newcomer to the grid, the Italian man, driving the 108 Ford Mustang, inherits fourth position on attrition. Elio Danilo Vinci, the driver behind Carr currently. Still a long way to go there, Tim, to call a Sausage Dodgers victory. Mark Richards with an off track. What happened to Richards? Hold the phone. South Bend looks okay until it's not. Carrying a little too much speed. He only loses time, not his car. Elio Danilo Vinci, however, does lose his car on the hill down to the Oak Tree. Uh-oh. Vincenzo Stagnito, 3 seconds faster on that lap to Mark Richards. Stagnito with a 6.7 second gap. He's keep plucking away at those laps on Richards. 2 mistakes on 2 laps for Richards. I feel like we need to keep our eye on him right now. A mistake could happen at any moment, but the track definitely drying up. I think Andrew called it perfectly. I have a feeling like the drivers are going to stick it out for as long as possible. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Konstantinos Nikolaitis with a big accident. Morgabiati crashed. So here's Gabbiati's crash. This is going into NASCAR, or left hook, excuse me. And then what happens to Konstantinos Nikolaitis? So here's up the hill through the S's. Up the hill, loses it, and backs that thing up into the tire barriers. Oh, and he's lost every bit of bodywork attached to that Ferrari. He's limping it home. Oh my goodness. Konstantinos Nikolaitis is trying to limp it home. I am speechless, folks. I am absolutely speechless. Konstantinos Nikolaitis is an absolute legend for even getting it through. Well, trying to get it through the roller coaster and hog pen now. He's just a few meters away from pit road entrance, and he can try to get some points tonight. At this point in the race, if you're Nikolaitis, yeah, you're going for the fast repair, but are you putting on dries? I don't think so. The track is too wet. Going for that fast repair that is available for Nikolaitis there. There it is. The tire change is going to be taking place. We do have a couple of... Oh, he's going on dries. He is on the dries. We do have a couple drivers on the dry compound, actually. Nikolaitis, Uncle Lloyd, and Carr. Now all on the dries. Mauro Gabbiati and Elio Danilo Vinci, 2 fellow countrymen, going wheel to wheel now on the wet weather tires. Zazera with a couple of mistakes on that previous lap. Now both drivers are behind the driver on cold dries, who's gonna have an off to stay out of the way. A little bit of a wiggle there for the car in front. Giovanni Zazera in the 108. Mauro Gabbiati driving the 81 behind. Yellow and black machine. On board with Gabbiati now.
Konstantinos Nikolaitis not having a great time, leading the pack on the dry tires currently. Currently keeps on going off the track. Chris Carr with another incident, black flag penalty. Lloyd Butler as well. See what's going on here to Nikolaitis. Looks like Hogpen. And then where did things go wrong again? Coming under braking into towards turn one, everything looks okay for the number 32 until he just does no traction, cold tires. Gabbiati, the 81, gets a couple wheels off into the grass, but it won't hurt him too badly. Gap opens up to 1.1 seconds between Zazera and Gabbiati. Wonder how the fuel is looking at this point in time. The mileage must be pretty good in the wet conditions. If Thomas Wright is still able to produce 157.8s, Andrew, do you think that switching wet weather tires even makes sense, or can you double stint them and save that time? Because we are running the IMSA rules where fuel and tires are separate for this GT3 category. Your tires will be warm. They'll be worn, yes, but you'll be able to keep on driving, I think. Andrew, let me know what you think in the YouTube chat. What the best strategy might be for the hands that still have yet to make a pit stop. Oh, there goes an off from Zazera. As they got set up for the S's, it all went wrong, and Gabbiati was able to pick up the pieces easily. Gabbiati back up to fourth position. But Tim, do you stay on the same set of wets, or do you take a new set as Zazera has another mistake coming down into the fastest part of the track, Oak Street? Lights up the rear end to get it pointed in the right direction. Elio Danilo Vinci might pick up the pieces on this one. So Andrew Kesterton says, if they're not wrecked from wear, I would double stint the wets and trust the track stays damp enough. Well, let's take a look at the track conditions. Very lightly wet conditions. Could very well be close to the cutover period. We haven't seen the drivers on dries put in successful laps yet. The Nikolaitis, Butler, and Carr haven't put on any new boots that have been, well, beneficial to them. Here comes Giovanni Zazera, though. Enough is enough for him on the wets. I have a feeling like he'll stay on the wets. No, this is for black flag incident count. Drive-through penalty for Zazera. So the Zazera-Gabbiati battle settles down. It's definitely drying up, though. You can see how much Zazera is struggling for grip. Even on wets, I think the wear might have gotten to the point where it's too high. But Stagnito able to pop out 158.49 that last time around. Just unbelievable pace. Fast lap of the race being a 57.68 currently. Watch along with live timing, folks. Go ahead and click that link and get educated on what the drivers are doing and get all the data that you could possibly need on what's going on here at Sausage Dodgers Racing. Zara makes another trip down pit lane. I think this one is going to be the expected pit stop call. Does Zara take fuel in 4? He does. Thomas Wright picking up the pace right now with a 157.53 that last time by. New fast lap of the event. So Zazera now switched over to dries after that pit stop. Konstantinos Nikolaitis has been running the dries for quite some time. 206.53 last time by. There goes Bruno Clark off though. The 911. Hey, Galactic Gremlin, unfortunately not your night. I'm so sorry, my friend. Track conditions. I don't envy any of the drivers right now. And the decisions they're having to make, the conditions they're having to drive in. Man, oh man, Stagnito into pit lane. Galactic Gremlin, you are Chris Carr, if I'm not mistaken, correct? So, foreign fuel for Vincenzo Stagnito as well. The sim drivers .eu pilot. Hits the floor and is ready to go. Onto the dries though for Stagnito. I'm not sure about this one. Let's start looking at last lap times, shall we? .213, 203. I'm not seeing it happen, folks. Oh, look at how wet it is out there for Stagnito on these cold tires. Yeah, Car, you were the one giving us the data about what it was like to be on the dry tires at this point in time. It was definitely not the right moment. It might still not be the right moment for drivers like Stagnito. It could be a couple laps too early. We'll keep an eye on the drivers on the dries, but time loss like that, I would rather be on wet tires and go slow and steady. There goes Stagnito, round out of Oak Tree. Just can't even keep the traction down. Stagnito's losing so much time to Thomas Wright on this outlap currently. Rooster Tail's only in some sections of the track now. So maybe I'll have egg on my face in a few laps when Stagnito proves me wrong and starts lapping quicker than the rest of the field, but we'll have to see what happens going into the final 30 minutes of this race. We'll have to see what's happening. Vinci is catching. No, you're all good, Chris Carr. Thank you very much for joining in the YouTube. Thank you very much for supporting the Sausage Jotters. Hopefully, we'll see you next time, my friend. Check back in here with Mark Richards as we approach the infield section and then go up the hill. Mark Richards definitely trying to push this stint as long as possible. Thomas Wright 203.9 last time by, although Mark Richards is still pumping in 158. Mark Richards doing a great job of commanding the field and running his own race. It's been a battle of mistakes this evening. Drivers have had to contend with their own mistakes rather than really challenged by the mistakes of others. Is this a pit stop from Richards? No, not yet. I can't believe I'm not even going to say it yet. Konstantinos Nikolaitis, black flag penalty for him. Another big incident for Nikolaitis by the looks of it. Sends him to the back of the pack. Thomas Wright pumps in a 157.96. Not a new fast lap for him. It'll just be a consistent lap for him. Richards leads Wright currently. The battle for P1 and P2 separated by around 30 seconds. Here's Elio Danilo Vinci into pit lane. Mauro Gabbiati serving his stop also. Now, will these drivers be trying to undercut Mark Richards is the question. Gabbiati does go out onto dries, going for the undercut. Nothing to lose when trying to go for an alternate strategy. Vincenzo Stagnito has picked up his pace. He's down into the 201s now. Still a minute and 36 seconds down from Thomas Wright. But the pit stop's taking about a minute and a half now. We'll have to see if Vincenzo Stagnito could undercut back down. There's a mistake. Who was that? Right in front of Thomas Wright. That was Thomas Wright. Richards into the pits now. Thomas Wright getting the freebie there. But it'll be a pit stop. In lap for Thomas Wright. In lap for Mark Richards on this run. Lap number 33 was all they could complete. Thomas Wright, what does he go out onto? The wets or the dries? Dries for Richards, wets for Thomas Wright, though. So, update, mark to dries. Thomas Wright stays on the wets with a quick pit stop, avoids changing those tires and stays ahead of Stagnito by a huge margin. Now is the important question, the gap between Thomas Wright and Mark Richards. Is that gap going to come down? 13 seconds currently. Drivers on the dry. Let's take a look at lap times. I'm still not seeing those lap times for the drivers on the dries that they need. Thomas Wright needs to work these wets as much as possible. Yeah, you're absolutely right, Andrew. He is running such a wet line trying to cool down these tires. Only thing he can do. The question is still, we're going to go into the finale next week, of course. Tied, if I'm not mistaken, on points. Someone check my commentator's math, but with Richards and Wright, you know, separated by just a handful of points, I believe we'll go into the finale nearly tied on points, and the decider will be whoever finishes higher on track. Under 20 minutes remaining on the clock. The gap between Wright and Richards comes down dramatically. Road America is going to be the finale for the 6th week round. Oh, Lee Toledo. Look at the lap time from Zazara. Wow. 56.7. $57.0 from Richards. This is going to be tight at the wire, folks. And look at the gap between Zazara and Elio Danilo Vinci. Marina Clark in 4th position comes down pit road. Oh, now the gap slinkies back, though, into the 13-second range. Mark Richards pumps out fast lap of the race, 56.17 on the dries. Marino Kolaric changes his mind and comes out on the dry tires. Elio Danilo Vinci loses that position to Zazzera. The Italian driver on Italian driver. The wets a little roasted at this point. Don't forget to like, subscribe, ring the bell, get notifications for when the Sausage Dodgers or AK Esports goes live next, folks. The gap opens up to nearly 15 seconds. Vinci can't keep it on the black stuff. Zazzera with a fast lap of the race, 55.72 last time by. Mark Richards snaps back with a 55.08. The wets are cooked, says Andrew Kesterton. Absolutely true. Now, can Vincenzo Stagnito do anything about picking up leftover pieces, as Thomas Wright is well up the road by nearly 55 seconds? Elio Danilo Vinci decides the wets are done as well, and he decides to come down pit road for the final 15 minutes. He'll come home in P7 by the looks of it. What is Thomas Wright doing to keep these tires cool is my question. He's obviously running the very wet line to try to keep the tires cool. His lap times are not terrible. 57.85 for Thomas Wright last time round. Another 57, not too shabby. Vincenzo Stagnito only put in a 55.13, 54.0 from Mark Richards. Or Gabbiati 55.48, Marino Kolaric 55.29. And from this camera angle, you can see how much he needs to use the wet line. Even coming through the S's. Final 12 minutes of this event, folks. Let's hear your predictions. Who's going to be on the podium this evening for Sausage Dodgers Racing and SentriCore's GT3 Endurance Series? Marina Clark closes down the gap, looks to the outside of Thomas right here. 54.5 from Kloarek, and it looks like Thomas Wright stays out of the way of Kloarek's run on the dry line just by staying on that wet line that he prefers to keep those tires as cool as possible. Final 10 minutes of the event. Split times, absolutely. Oh, split times for P2 and P3, absolutely. Sorry, misunderstood. So we go Thomas Wright. Think that's what you want to see? The time difference between what Richards is doing compared to what Thomas Wright is doing, and then Stagnito is also doing. So the Delta, Stagnito a little bit slower than Richards, but Wright just 3 seconds, 5, 6 seconds slower now. Yeah, it's not looking good for Thomas Wright. But like someone said, what else was there for him to do to try to hold on to P2? He had to do something different than the rest of the field to try to stay in it. Driver of the day votes coming in for Mark Richards for his calm, cool, and collected mentality. Mark Richards was a bit of a mistake. See if we can get a replay of what happened here. Going through NASCAR. Just a tiny excursion off the track. No harm, no foul there. Still with a 35-second advantage. It's clear cut and dry that Richards will walk away with the victory. Thomas Wright with a 30-second gap to Stagnito as well. It's looking pretty good for Thomas Wright's podium chances. Stagnito, although, closing down 5 seconds that previous lap. There might not be enough laps left in this race for Stagnito to catch up. And Stagnito's probably thinking at this point in time, what if I hadn't made those few mistakes on the outlap on the dry tires? He definitely made the right choice to go onto the dry tires, but at what point was it the wrong call? I think he may have made the mistake just a couple laps too soon. About to broach the final 5, folks. That means it'll be just 2 laps remaining. $150.5 for Stagnito. That'll be the new fast lap of this event so far. Vincenzo Stagnito might be a contender for driver of the day. Has done very well, although coming back into 3rd position at the end of the day is nothing to write home about. Mark Richards, however, with the climb of 3, has done very well. Mauro Gabbiati as well, the number 81, has climbed up into P2 at one point in time and then tumbled back down into P4, but still, that'll be 3 positions gained. Konstantinos Nikolaitis, unfortunately out of the race, would be the hard charger of the event with 4 positions gained. Final 5 underway. Final 4 underway at this point in time. James, welcome to the YouTube chat. Thank you very much for being here. Really appreciate your love and support, Mr. Piper. Do not forget to like, subscribe, and ring the bell to get notifications for when the sausages go live next. Thomas Wright able to still pick up the pace. 55.7 last time by is not too shabby. Able to hold on to the best of his abilities. Yeah, I saw that. James decided to gamble and go on the dries. Ended up not being the right call yet. A little bit too early. Looks like we will get an additional lap here, so this one plus one more. Zazera continues to put in fast laps, 151.284. It is a good time to thank our sponsor. Thank you very much for the reminder, Tim. We would be remiss if we did not thank our title sponsor, SentriCore MIP. Thank you very much for your support, SentriCore. For any cybersecurity intel needs, check out SentriCore MIP in the UK. I think Mark Richards does have a big enough gap where he could end the race early if he wanted to. But who's a racing driver if you do that? One minute left on the clock. Coming through Hogpen for the penultimate time, Mark Richards in the 420 is going to lead us for another lap around VIR. Mark Richards takes the white flag from Barney the flagman, who waves it fast and furiously for him. The 420 with style and grace has commanded the race. Not without a couple of moments. Chris Carr, Thomas Wright, all wanted a slice of the pie. A fight for the title. A championship lead was on the line even. But mistakes took over the race during the wet conditions of the early event. Drivers who were able to stay mistake-free and stay focused on their commitment to the cause were able to come through cleanly. Others, on the other hand, succumbed to their own mistakes, battled with VIR and the moisture on the wetness. As the clock ticks over, it will be the way of the Sausage Dodgers and Mark Richards here in Victory Lane. Mark Richards and the Sausage Dodgers take the victory here for round 5 of the SentriCore MIP Endurance Challenge. What a great drive from Mark Richards this evening. Holy Toledos were definitely out tonight between Vincenzo Stagnino, Mauro Gabbiati, Thomas Wright. Everybody was up for it. Let's take a look at the results here for Sausage Dodgers Round 5 of SentriCore MIP Endurance Run. Mark Richards took the win with 45 laps led. Thomas Wright in P2, Vincenzo Stagnino in third. Mauro Gabbiani, Giovanni Zazzera, Marino Clark, Elio Danilo Vinci, Konstantinos Nicolaitis, Lloyd Butler, Chris Carr, James Piper, Lewis Butler, Lorenzo Gorgetto, and Noah Osbadell surrounding out the 14 participants. Let's get the drivers pulled in for their interviews in just a few moments. We got Mark Richards, the race winner, lined up and ready to go. So let's talk to Mark first. Mark, first of all, what a drive tonight. And it wasn't by a little margin. It wasn't on sheer luck. That was just a domination this evening. And the strategy call played a big part of that as well. Did you see the forecast coming? Are you a meteorologist, Mark Richards? What is up your sleeve?
Yeah, no, just part-time job. Yeah, no, it's one of those. It was going to dry out. It was a gamble. I considered it a gamble to change when I did. I was considering just taking fresh wets or staying on the wets, but the wets were cooked by the time I got in. So I think Thomas stayed on the wets, and I think that was probably the wrong decision. If he'd taken fresh wets, that he might not have suffered so much. But I only had 50% tire life left myself, so I imagine by the end of Thomas's stint, he probably only had like 25-30% tire life.
Absolutely insane. And he was still able to pump out fast laps, 155s at the end of the day. Not too shabby. So no hard feelings or no slouch Thomas Wright is in his own right. Just had to do something different to try to catch you up, I think. And, it just ended up not working out in his favor.
Yeah. He didn't really lose anything, though. I suppose he was second at the time, and he stayed second. So I guess it was worth a gamble for him.
I very much agreed. I'm not sure I would have been smart enough to do the same. Making that move here around VIR at, nearly 157 miles an hour. Pretty sketchy stuff in these wet weather conditions, Mark.
Yes. Yeah, definitely. It was just as sketchy on dries as it was wet.
Now, here in Victory Lane, is there anybody you want to shout out or anybody you want to thank, Mark?
Yeah, shout out to yourself, Saga. I know you're not feeling very good, so thank you for turning up, and no doubt another great broadcast. Thank you to Jill for watching, and big shout out to all the sausages who can't be asked to turn up or injured or anything else.
Right on, Mark. Thank you very much for joining us in the broadcast booth. Have a great night, my friend.
Bro, cheers.
Thank you, everybody, for joining us. Thank you very much for staying tuned. It's been a pleasure again to take you from green to checkered flag on behalf of Sausage Dodgers Racing. We want to give a big shout out and thanks to SentriCore MIP for their sponsorship of this event. Thank you very much to SentriCore. And if you need any cybersecurity or intel needs, make sure you reach out to SentriCore. With that, my good friends, all good things must come to an end, and so shall this. Have a great night, and as always, make sure you stay safe out there. Goodbye for now.